Well, Amaury, did you check his bike? I couldn't quite see if they were cut spikes or full spikes. Was it full even spike, in the middle?
Yeah. And Tyrion was on full spike. I think, I don't know if it was the front or the back, but he ran a full spike even in the dry. So I don't know what planet he's living on, but he was taking different lines to everyone all week. Totally different. So he was almost riding a different track in the way he was riding it as well. But then he was running, I don't know how you could run a full spike when it was dry. So many routes. You'd have to be such a light, precise rider. I would just crash. But
but I think he's on wet screens and that like full spike is quite moldable, hey? You know, like it's not great in the hard pack, which I'd rather ride it on a route than a hard pack because they're more like flexible than the Dirty Dan that Amaury rode. So like I think Amaury's tire in the main, in the rain is better.
Not often that you see anyone with full spikes on.
No, that's the problem with the tracks these days. They're not fresh enough. You know, it's almost sad. So it's cool to see that full spikes were needed. And then, I mean, we're on the setup. He ran full mud guard. You know, it's quite aggressive for this day and age, that mud guard. And he carrying more speed, maybe just didn't feel like taking tear-offs versus someone like Dak. That was talk of the town, taking a lot more tear-offs, but Amaury took one or two maybe.
Yeah.
So
Dak had a problem with his goggles. So,
is that what it was?
There's a vent in his helmet and it dripped into the top of the goggle.
Yeah, and he was on tear-offs, not roll-offs, or
roll-offs, but it dripped into in between the lens. So then it went through the foam, and then it was just dripping in.
Oh no! So he thought that was going to get him vision, but it just never did.
It wasn't doing anything. It was just fogging it up.
Well,
and then he had to just keep pulling it because you're like, oh, please get some vision.
Yeah.
And he couldn't see anything. He had no depth perception. Like you saw in the top section, he just went nearly straight off the corner.
Yeah.
And he was one of the few riders that did that. Either he's hanging it out or he couldn't see. So it's like, you imagine riding that track when you can't see. He did pretty well to even make it down, you know. Like.
Well, I was going to say without that, it's not really historically his conditions where he might excel as much as the dry.
Yeah.
And I think this is a story of two races. Like it's so tough for him, like to stomach this result. Yep. If you're winning quali, you're winning semi. Even if it's dry and he gets third, it's going to be a tough thing to stomach.
Yeah, it's a perfect weekend so far.
But I mean, wow, he really outshone the guys in the dry or changing conditions to dry. That's incredible, man. Just showing that sheer speed. And then to get ninth then on conditions which didn't really favor you. The run didn't look that great. And he had a problem with vision. That's insane. So that's cool. Salvaging a lot of points. He moves up to fifth in the overall. Yeah. It could have gone a lot worse for him then.
Yeah, I would probably crash if I couldn't see. Or you just get frustrated and then you're frustrated with your goggles. So you stop thinking about your riding.
I wonder if
you have to keep pulling them, like you're really annoyed.
You'd want to pull them. You'd want to pull them off, I guess, if you actually knew what the problem was.
Yeah, but you don't have. You've got 3 minutes or 4 minutes to figure it out, so you don't really figure out the actual problem.
No,
and then you're like, oh shit, that's what it was. Like, but goggle prep and that sort of thing is like, it's not often we need to do it to that degree. So we don't often we race in the mud, but not like pouring rain, heavy rain. So you don't start where you can't see out of the start gate. That's pretty rare. So that probably work. He'll now learn from that and then be pretty prepared next time, I imagine, for a proper mud race.